He's destroying my baby's life." My mother-in-law Eleanor's voice echoed through the dining room at my sister-in-law's house. "Jessica comes home crying every day because of him. He's a monster." I sat quietly at the end of the table, my hand in my pocket, pressing the record button on my phone as I had been doing for the past 3 months. My name is Michael, and at 34, I found myself in the middle of a nightmare orchestrated by my mother-in-law. I'd been married to Jessica for 5 years, and everything was perfect until Eleanor lost her husband 6 months ago. That's when the accusations started. "Did you hear what he did last week?" Eleanor continued, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing wildly. "He refused to let Jessica visit me when I was sick. He's isolating her, just like those abusers on TV." The family around the table shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding my gaze, others shooting me suspicious looks. The truth? Jessica had a crucial presentation at work that day, one she'd been preparing for months. She decided herself not to visit. But in Eleanor's revised version of reality, I was the controlling villain keeping her daughter away from her grieving mother. I took a sip of water, maintaining my composure as Eleanor launched into another fabricated story about how I supposedly monitored Jessica's phone calls. Under the table, my phone continued recording. Next to me, an empty chair sat where Jessica should have been. She was stuck at work, unaware of this latest character assassination. "I don't understand how you can all sit here with him," Eleanor sniffled, dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "My poor baby is suffering, and everyone's acting like it's normal." My sister-in-law, Amanda, cleared her throat. "Mom, maybe we should talk about something else." But Eleanor was on a roll. She'd found a captive audience, and she wasn't about to let it go. "Something else. While your sister lives in fear? Last month, he wouldn't even let her come to our family beach trip." I almost broke my silence at that one. The beach trip she planned without asking about Jessica's schedule. Then blamed me when Jessica couldn't get time off work. I'd encouraged Jessica to try to make it for at least a weekend, but her project deadlines wouldn't allow it. In Eleanor's mind, this too became evidence of my controlling behavior. The accusations had started small. First, it was comments about how Jessica looked tired, pointed questions about whether I was working her too hard. Then came the suggestions that I was controlling our finances, despite Jessica being the one who managed our bank accounts. By the 3rd month after her husband's death, Eleanor had constructed an entire narrative about me being an abusive husband. "I saw bruises on her arm last week," Eleanor announced, her voice dropping to a dramatic whisper. This was new. My hand tightened around my water glass. Jessica had walked into a door at the office while reading emails on her phone. She'd even posted about it on social media, laughing at her own clumsiness. "Eleanor," I finally spoke, keeping my voice level. "You know those bruises were from an accident at work. Jessica posted about it." "Because you made her." Eleanor shot back. "You probably stood over her shoulder while she wrote that post." I returned to my silence, letting my phone capture every word. Jessica and I had discussed confronting her mother about these accusations, but we decided to wait. Eleanor was grieving, we reasoned. She needed time. But as the lies grew more elaborate and the family began to believe them, we realized we needed protection. "I'm thinking of calling the police," Eleanor announced, causing several family members to gasp. "I have documentation of everything." She pulled out a small notebook, waving it triumphantly. I wondered what that notebook contained. More twisted versions of innocent events. Imagined slights turned into evidence of abuse. While she had her notebook of lies, I had 3 months of recordings, text messages, and emails documenting the truth. "Mom," Amanda tried again. "This is getting out of hand." "Out of hand." Eleanor's voice rose. "You're taking his side now. After everything he's done to your sister." I watched as Amanda wilted under her mother's fierce glare. This was Eleanor's power, the ability to manipulate everyone around her with guilt and dramatic accusations. One by one, she turned family members against me with her stories. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Jessica. "Stuck in traffic. Everything okay there?" I typed back quickly, "Your mom's sharing some interesting stories." All recorded. Eleanor noticed me texting and pounced. "See, he's probably telling her what to say right now. Controlling her every move." I slipped my phone back into my pocket, making sure it was still recording. Christmas was 3 weeks away, and Eleanor had insisted on hosting a family gathering. Jessica and I had already planned our response. We just needed to gather enough evidence. I think we should ban him from Christmas, Eleanor declared, looking around the table for support. Make it a safe space for Jessica. The irony of her talking about safe spaces while creating the most toxic environment possible wasn't lost on me, but I maintained my calm, knowing that reacting would only give her more ammunition. Actually, I said, standing up slowly, Jessica and I are looking forward to Christmas. We have something special planned. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. You're not welcome in my house. I won't let you ruin another family gathering. I picked up my jacket, giving her a small smile. We'll see you at Christmas, Eleanor. As I walked out, I could hear her starting another tirade about my threatening behavior. In my car, I stopped the recording and played it back, listening to Eleanor's voice spew accusation after accusation. Adding it to the folder on my phone, I thought about how different things had been before her husband died. She'd been overbearing then too, but not malicious. Grief had transformed her into someone unrecognizable, someone who would destroy her daughter's marriage to maintain control. My phone buzzed again. Jessica calling this time. Hey love, I answered. You missed quite a show. Mom again, she asked, sighing. What was it this time? Oh, the usual. I'm controlling, abusive, and apparently not welcome at Christmas. We'll see about that, Jessica said, determination in her voice. Did you get it all? Every word. Ready for phase 2. Absolutely. Mom needs to learn she can't keep doing this. I love her, but this has to stop. As I drove home, I thought about the flash drive sitting in my desk drawer, filled with recordings, messages, and emails documenting Eleanor's campaign against me. Christmas was going to be interesting this year. Very interesting indeed. The weeks leading up to Christmas were like walking through a minefield. Eleanor's campaign against me intensified, spreading beyond family dinners to social media and even our professional lives. She'd started calling Jessica's colleagues, expressing concern about her daughter's well-being. Mrs. Harrison called me into her office today. Jessica said one evening, collapsing onto our couch. Apparently, Mom told her I needed support escaping my domestic situation. She ran her hands through her hair, frustration evident in every movement. I had to spend an hour convincing my boss that I'm not in an abusive marriage. I sat beside her, pulling her close. Did you tell her about the documentation? Jessica nodded. She was horrified when I explained what Mom's been doing. Offered to write a statement about Mom's calls if we need it. She leaned into me, sighing. I never thought we'd need to gather evidence against my own mother. The flash drive in my desk drawer had grown fuller. Eleanor's escalating behavior provided plenty of material. She'd started showing up at our house unannounced, sometimes late at night, claiming she needed to check on Jessica. Each time, my security cameras captured her performance. The dramatic pounding on the door, the loud accusations through the mailbox, the tearful phone calls to other family members claiming we were ignoring her. One particularly memorable evening, she arrived at 11 p.m. with 2 police officers. My daughter's being held against her will, she'd screamed, while Jessica and I watched through our security feed, recording everything. The officers, already seeming skeptical of Eleanor's hysteria, were even less impressed when Jessica opened the door in her pajamas, clearly fine and definitely not being held captive. Ma'am, one officer had said to Eleanor, making false reports is a serious offense. We'd added the police report to our growing collection of evidence. Amanda called me privately after that incident. Michael, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice hushed. Mom's been different since Dad died. But these accusations about you, I think she's going too far. You think? I couldn't keep the sarcasm from my voice. I know. I should have said something sooner. But, she paused. She's been writing things down in that notebook of hers, planning something big for Christmas. She keeps saying she's going to expose you in front of everyone. I thanked Amanda for the warning, though we'd already anticipated Eleanor's Christmas plans. Jessica and I had our own preparation underway. We'd set up a small home office in our spare room, walls covered with a timeline of Eleanor's escalating behavior. Text messages, emails, recordings, police reports, witness statements, everything meticulously organized and dated. Are you sure we're doing the right thing? Jessica asked one night as we reviewed our evidence. She's still my mom, and she's grieving. I took her hand, understanding her conflict. Honey, grief explains her behavior but doesn't excuse it. She's trying to destroy our marriage, our reputations, possibly even your career. We have to stop this. Jessica squeezed my hand. I know, it's just hard. Before Dad died, she was overbearing but never like this. Sometimes I miss my old mom. The old Eleanor had been a typical mother-in-law, meddling but generally well-meaning. She'd make comments about my career choices, suggest better ways to organize our house, drop hints about grandchildren. Normal mother-in-law behavior that we could laugh about later. But after her husband's death, something had snapped. Her need to control her daughter had morphed into this destructive campaign. A week before Christmas, Eleanor sent a mass email to the entire family. Subject line, urgent, Christmas intervention for Jessica. The email detailed her plans for a family intervention at Christmas dinner. She'd invited a domestic abuse counselor, arranged for Jessica's cousins to block my escape routes, and prepared a folder of evidence against me. Reading it, I felt a mix of anger and pity. She created such an elaborate fantasy that she genuinely believed she was saving her daughter. Jessica read the email with tears in her eyes. She's really lost it, hasn't she? I held her as she cried, both for the mother she'd lost and a confrontation we knew was coming. We spent that evening finalizing our own plans, making sure every detail was perfect. We couldn't let emotion override preparation. The day before Christmas, Eleanor called Jessica repeatedly, leaving increasingly frantic voicemails. Baby, please don't bring him tomorrow. We can protect you. We have a safe place ready. The counselor says it's normal to be scared, but we're all here for you. Don't let him see this message. Just come alone. Please, baby. Jessica saved each voicemail, adding them to our collection. That night, as we lay in bed, she turned to me with determination in her eyes. Tomorrow needs to work. We have to make her stop. I pulled her closer. It will work. We have everything ready. I just hope. She paused. I hope that after this, we can find a way to help her heal properly, deal with her grief without destroying everyone around her. The morning of Christmas Eve, we packed everything we needed into a discreet briefcase. Our evidence was organized, our presentation prepared, and our strategy set. As we drove to Eleanor's house, Jessica reached over and squeezed my hand. Ready? She asked. I nodded, thinking about the months of accusations, the family relationships strained, the professional implications we'd narrowly avoided. Ready. Eleanor's house was decorated elaborately for Christmas, every surface covered in festive ornaments. The perfect setting for her planned intervention. Family members' cars lined the driveway, and through the window, we could see people gathering in the living room. Jessica. Eleanor rushed out as soon as we pulled up. Baby, you came alone like I asked, right? He's not. She stopped short, seeing me emerge from the driver's side. Merry Christmas, Eleanor, I said calmly, retrieving our briefcase from the back seat. Her face darkened. How dare you come here? I explicitly said. Mom, Jessica cut her off, her voice firm. Michael and I have something to share with everyone, and you're going to want to see this. Eleanor's eyes fixed on the briefcase in my hand. What's that? Are you threatening us? See, everyone. She called out to the family members now watching from the doorway. See how he tries to intimidate us. Jessica took my hand, and together we walked toward the house. Behind us, Eleanor continued her performance, calling out warnings and accusations. But we knew that in just a few minutes, everything would change. As we entered the living room, I caught sight of the domestic abuse counselor Eleanor had invited, sitting uncomfortably on the couch. Perfect. A professional witness was exactly what we needed. Everyone, Jessica announced, her voice steady despite Eleanor's continued protests. It's time for the truth to come out. The living room was silent as I set up the laptop and small projector we'd brought. Eleanor hovered nearby, alternating between nervous glances at our equipment and attempts to gain control of the situation. We're here to help Jessica, she announced to the room. That briefcase probably contains more evidence of his abuse. She turned to the counselor. See how he's trying to manipulate the situation. The counselor, a composed woman in her 50s, watched everything with professional interest. She hadn't spoken yet, but her eyes tracked each person's behavior carefully. Jessica stood in the center of the room, her voice clear and strong. Yes, Mom, we're going to look at evidence. but not the kind you're expecting. She nodded to me and I started our presentation. The first slide appeared on the wall. A timeline titled The Evolution of Eleanor's Campaign. Below were dates, starting from the day her husband died, each marked with specific incidents and evidence. "What is this?" Eleanor demanded, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. "This, Mom, is everything you've done over the past 6 months." Jessica's voice was gentle but firm. "Every false accusation, every manipulative message, every attempt to destroy my marriage." I clicked to the next slide, and Eleanor's own voice filled the room. The recording from the family dinner where she'd accused me of causing Jessica's bruises. The family shifted uncomfortably as they heard their own silence in the face of Eleanor's accusations. "You recorded me?" Eleanor gasped. "That's illegal." "Single-party consent state," I replied calmly, "and this is just the beginning." Over the next 20 minutes, we presented our evidence. Security footage of Eleanor's late-night visits, screenshots of her social media posts accusing me of abuse, the police report from her false allegations, emails to Jessica's workplace, the recent Christmas intervention email. Each piece of evidence was dated, documented, and irrefutable. The counselor leaned forward, her professional demeanor showing increasing concern, not for Jessica's supposed abuse, but for Eleanor's obvious psychological distress. "Mrs. Reynolds," she addressed Eleanor directly, "I was invited here under the premise of helping an abuse victim, but what I'm seeing suggests a very different situation." Eleanor's face had gone pale. No, you don't understand. I have proof." She rushed to get her notebook, the one she'd been waving around for months. "Your notebook, Mom," Jessica said softly. "The one where you've been rewriting reality, creating stories about abuse that never happened." "They did happen," Eleanor insisted, but her voice had lost its conviction. He kept you from the beach trip." "I had work deadlines, Mom. I showed you my project schedule months ago." "He monitors your phone." "I manage our phone plan, always have." "The bruises." "I walked into a door at work. There's security footage of that too." With each response, Eleanor seemed to shrink, her carefully constructed narrative crumbling around her. The family watched in stunned silence as months of accusations were systematically disproven. Finally, Jessica walked to her mother and gently took her hands. "Mom, this has to stop. We understand you're grieving. Dad's death was sudden and terrible, and you're in pain. But trying to destroy my marriage isn't going to bring him back." Eleanor's face crumpled. But you're all I have left of him," she whispered. "Mrs. Reynolds," the counselor interjected gently, "what I'm seeing here suggests complicated grief manifesting as control and manipulation. There are healthier ways to process your loss." Amanda stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Mom, we've all been enabling this because we didn't want to add to your pain. But we've been wrong. You need help, real help." Eleanor looked around the room, seeing not the allies she thought she had, but family members who were finally confronting the truth of her behavior. Her legs seemed to give out, and she sank onto the couch. I just didn't want to lose her too," she whispered. Jessica sat beside her mother. "You're not losing me, Mom. But this campaign against Michael, the lies, the manipulation, it has to end. We found a grief counselor who specializes in family therapy. Will you go for me?" The room held its breath as Eleanor looked at her daughter. For a moment, I saw a flash of the woman she'd been before grief had twisted her into someone unrecognizable. "I've made a terrible mess, haven't I?" she finally said, her voice small. "Yes," Jessica said honestly, "but we can fix this. Together. The right way." The counselor who'd come expecting to handle an abuse intervention offered to speak with Eleanor privately about grief support resources. As they talked to the study, the family slowly approached Jessica and me. "We should have spoken up sooner," Amanda said, hugging her sister. "I'm so sorry." One by one, family members apologized for their silence, for believing Eleanor's accusations, for not seeing what was really happening. Some cried, others seemed angry at themselves for being manipulated. "What matters now," I told them, "is that we all help Eleanor heal properly. No more enabling, no more looking the other way." Later that evening, as the family sat down to a subdued Christmas dinner, Eleanor returned from her talk with the counselor. Her eyes were red from crying, But there was something different about her, perhaps the first glimpse of acceptance. "Michael," she said quietly, approaching my chair. "I have done you a terrible wrong. I know sorry isn't enough, but it's where I need to start." I nodded, accepting her words for what they were, a beginning. The next few months weren't easy. Eleanor started grief counseling, attending sessions 3 times a week. Sometimes she'd slip back into old patterns, but now the family was united in helping her face her grief honestly instead of enabling her destructive behavior. Jessica and I kept the evidence file, not as a threat but as a reminder of where unchecked grief could lead. Slowly, we saw glimpses of the old Eleanor returning, still occasionally overbearing but no longer malicious. 6 months after that Christmas confrontation, Eleanor invited us to dinner. The house had changed. Most of her husband's things had been properly sorted, no longer preserved in exactly the same place as the day he died. She joined a grief support group and was even helping other widows navigate their loss. "I want you both to know," she said over dessert, "that I'm doing the work. Really doing it. I almost lost my daughter because I couldn't face my pain. I won't let that happen again." Jessica squeezed my hand under the table as I replied, "That's all we ever wanted, Eleanor. For you to heal." Later that night, as Jessica and I got ready for bed, she smiled at me in the bathroom mirror. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For being patient, for helping save my mom from herself, for loving me through all of it." I pulled her close, thinking about the long journey from those first accusations to this moment of peace. "That's what family does," I said. "The real kind, not the kind your mom imagined I was." Jessica laughed, a genuine, healing sound. "Speaking of mom," she asked if we want to go to the beach next month. All of us. The right way this time. I smiled. "I'd like that." Sometimes I realize the happy ending isn't about winning or proving you're right. Sometimes it's about having the courage to help someone face their pain, even when they've hurt you. Eleanor's journey from grief-stricken antagonist to healing mother-in-law wasn't the ending I'd expected, but it was the one our family needed.